Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. Today is Wednesday. It is August the 27th. I told you this was going to be a big week, and it has proven to be such. I'm very conflicted this morning, and I'll be real honest that we had a victory yesterday, and it's a hollow one, but it's a victory. So we'll take a moment to just acknowledge that my friends got reinstated to the FBI, and justice was not done. So they were vindicated, and the people who are responsible still continue on with their lives, and nobody has to pay for what happened. So my mood is a little bit dark, even though there is a win. And it's a win that actually proves something a lot nastier. And what it proves is that the sons of bitches that had the ability to do this all along weren't doing it. And I'm going to give you guys the information that that's not going to be covered in mainstream media. And it's certainly not going to be covered by even people on the favorable side of the press, the people on the right that just do a bunch of leg humping. Because everybody wants to celebrate a win. Everybody wants to say, oh, we did it, finally. You know what? Our guys that sit over there in the Hoover building right now, they had an opportunity to do something right immediately in February. They could have done it before Kash Patel even showed up if they had any balls. And they didn't. They didn't do it. So we're going to cover that. We're going to cover that Cracker Barrel caved. It took less time for the public's outrage to make Cracker Barrel change their logo back, something of almost insignificance. It was basically a nostalgic move. It took less time for that to happen than it did for the Trump administration, but more specifically, the people in the Trump administration that are responsible. And I'm starting to realize that the problems are a lot lower in the chain than we would have expected. We all thought that maybe there was a gatekeeper. Maybe it's Susie Wiles' fault. And I'm going to actually say this like very publicly, because the other day I referred to what I think I said something to the effect of, there's a fat boomer who is the most important person in this country, the number 2 person in the world. And that's not an appropriate way to look at things. It's true. I don't think that she's not overweight. I think if Susie and I were talking about it, I'd want to get her on a program because I want people to be healthy. I want my parents to be thinner and fitter. I think all of us should be. I need to get fitter. No question about it. I went out there to do to just do an assessment on that 50 pull-ups and 100 push-ups. 100 push-ups, no problem. The 50 pull-ups. I'm like 30 pounds heavier than I was when I was kicking ass in the military. So like, it is what it is. We're all probably more weight than we want. We're all probably carrying around like some emotional baggage on our bodies. We're all probably carrying around some seed oils and some other crap because our food system is jacked up. And I think that's actually what this election was about in November. The whole idea of adding RFK Jr. to it is part of it. So yeah, let's just agree. Like some of us are overweight. We're more overweight than we want to be. We're not our most ideal, fittest body. But that wasn't necessarily a good criticism, because even though I said something that was kind of like not that nice, and it really isn't that nice, I think it actually brought attention accidentally to what we're doing, because probably somebody was like, hey, look at this a-hole. Look what he just said about you. And then she realized, like, wait a minute. Why is that a-hole still behind a microphone talking? I thought we were going to fix this problem. I thought that that's what we did. And we realized that Pam Bondi might not have been the bottleneck, because that's what we thought. It wasn't Susie Wiles keeping it from Donald Trump. I had to go behind the back of people in that administration, go through a rear door kind of just to give some information out that these guys were not made whole. My friends that needed to go get a job back. And they weren't brought back into some senior executive positions. No, they were brought back in as brick agents that are not going to be able to do anything to fix the problems that all of you think was going to be handled. So we're going to cover it today. And I'm going to explain to you that Kash Patel is the problem. Looking at you, Director Patel. You think you got away with something. You think you got a victory win. I noticed they didn't get any quotes from you saying how proud you were to bring these guys back. It's because you're a coward. And you were the problem all along. And so is your buddy Bongino. So we got some nostalgia to cover down on today. I'm going to give you guys a quick little Read from my friends who have been with us since the beginning. A lot of people say they've been with you since the beginning, that they supported your cause. These people have been in it financially with us since the beginning. It's the folks at Patriot Coolers, and I'm really grateful for them. I'll just be totally honest as well. The reason why Patriot Coolers reached out in the first place is because I have a brother who works with their parent company, and he said, this might align with your brand, and they might align with your values. My brother and I don't see eye to eye politically. We don't even talk that often, because if we do, it ends up in an argument. And he recommended them, and they got in touch with me, and we decided that this was going to work. PatriotCoolers.com. If you guys want to support a company that literally is in the fight with us and has been helping pay the bills here and keeping the lights on and making sure that we can do all the things that we do at this podcast, it's PatriotCoolers.com. Don't buy one if you don't need it, obviously. But if you're in the mood for like a gift for someone and you're like, what do I get them? Coffee mug, hard cooler, soft cooler, get them a lunch bag, something like that. Check them out. Their product is great. You're not going to be disappointed with it. You're going to be paying a fair amount of money. And you can also customize it to say anything you like. And they're not going to cancel you over it. PatriotCoolers.com. The promo code is Kyle. Just use my name at checkout. If you guys need a bigger order or something like that, email me. It's info@KyleSerafin.com. And I will put you in touch with the studs that work over there. And they'll get you guys a corporate deal or something like that too. So check them out. Let's grow their business with ours as we continue to do this. We continue to shine light on places that other people are not going to do. As they continue to leg hump, we're going to be doing some fun today. So tuck in, because it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. What does Dan call it? Tea and crumpets? We're not doing tea and crumpets today. We're doing the Kyle Serafin Show. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Here's the mood. You guys want to get the mood right up front? Let's just go ahead and do this. This is how I feel right now. We just slaughtered something that should have been an easy win, and we didn't make a lot of sport out of it. What we did is we just exposed something. These guys don't even know that they did this. Kash Patel left the country, and that's the reason why these guys were able to ink the deal after lying to you, the American public, that they had already gotten the deal done. And even the claims. Remember I told you the FBI will make a claim, and they're full of crap. We've captured 4 people in the FBI's top 10. Oh yeah, you put them on the top 10 before you captured them. This is always a lie. They add somebody, and then a couple of months later they catch them, and they're like, we got the biggest fish. You dropped the fish into the pond first. You knew where they were. You set these up for press releases. And this is the same story. When you hear 10 FBI whistleblowers, do you think that yesterday 10 people from the FBI were vindicated and added back? Would it shock you to know that Marcus Allen was included in that list of 10? Because it wasn't really just 10 at random. It was 10 from Empower Oversight. It's one specific group of people. So I'm going to give you guys the backstory and the play on it. But let me first tell you, this is the mood. This is why I started off with the clip that we did. Here's what it looks like in my brain right now.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
You can't do reform with the same guys, and you can't put people into the office and think like, oh, they're just going to adopt the culture and immediately start cheerleading and polishing the FBI's freaking movie posters and try to hand out awards to people who shot somebody, but nobody knows where the shots came from, so suddenly you're heroes. Yeah, I'm talking about the Lavoy Finicum situation. You put the same people in charge. That's how we ended up with guys like Steve Jensen in charge of the Washington field office. It's because the people that are running this agency that just installed my buddies doesn't even know who these people are. Like straight up, factually, has no idea who are working around them. I told you this on the podcast the other day, and apparently this made some delayed ripples inside the FBI's headquarters. I tossed this little bomb. I pulled the pin. I threw it out. I didn't realize it was a longer fuse than necessary. Boom. Yesterday, I find out folks on the 7th floor are scurrying around because guess what? We were going to fix what? Some of the political problems? The targeting of parents at school board meetings. That's why I lost my job. The pointing out that the FBI went after Catholics and violated the First Amendment. That seemed problematic. the shutting down of domestic terrorist investigations because we were using them in an inappropriate way to juke stats, as Steve Friend explained. All of these things that have been exposed by the FBI whistleblowers, have any of them been fixed? No, that's the really big story. But what you just saw yesterday was a check was cut or will be cut in the next 30 days, and it better be. It freaking better be, people. Do you think these guys got 7 figures, 8 figures? Is it over $10 million in payback? It's not even $10 million for all 10 of them combined. It's not even a few $1,000,000 at the end of the day. It's a couple $100,000 in back pay that they should have paid them in the first place because none of these guys should have been in that position. And did the people who were part of it, did they all face criminal prosecutions for violating their oath, for going after FBI employees and breaking federal employment law? Nope. Nope, they're all still there. The little grenade that we threw in there is that the person that was in charge of NTALK, which is the national tip line that J6 targeting was used. You had a bunch of people pick up the phone after January 6th, and they called in and said that, my neighbor is a Republican a-hole and he needs to be investigated by the FBI. He probably went to J6. So they had this whole system of people calling in. Then you heard things like the sedition hunters. What you also heard is there was a Durham report that was released, right? Have we gone out there and remember we heard Kash Patel say you're going to get transparency, unprecedented transparency on January 6th? Did we get it? Did it come out? Do you guys know who the 26 CHSs are? Do you know what they were doing or what groups they were part of? You don't. But I'll tell you what they did, because they were all deactivated. Apparently, the FBI's record-keeping system, which is required by the policy of the FBI to keep your confidential human sources on record. There has to be a paperwork trail behind them. What they did is they took all these people and they deactivated in that system. The system's called Delta, an FBI agency. You know what I'm talking about. Deactivated them and then gave them a new chain of report. Go ahead and just call into NTALK, call into the 800 number, and we will route it to your case agent, to your handling agent through a system called eGuardian, which is available to every single, law enforcement officer and so on. So we're going to keep getting your reporting on these so-called patriot groups. This is the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, and so on. We're going to keep doing that reporting. We're just going to hide it. And the guy who came up with that, I'm told, it's a guy named Brian Hefner. And he's now in charge of the security details for Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. He's in charge of like 80 plus FBI agents, which is the size of a field office. He's the assistant section chief over at the protection details. This is the information that I have. This is all exposed. This is all happening right under the nose of the guy who's supposed to be solving the problem, who supposedly was the solution. So here's Blaze Media and Joe Hanneman. God bless Joe Hanneman and Steve Baker for continuing to cover this. We really are appreciative of them, me, and the guys are. Carrie Pickett, who started this story very early and one of the first journalists that I ever talked to. Miranda Devine, same story, first journalist that Steve Friend talked to. There's not a lack of gratitude for the people that kept the story up. But what I'm not going to do is leg humping for people like this. There's Garrett O'Boyle on the screen. There's Kash Patel standing at a fight with Kash thing. Yesterday, if you guys pay attention on what happens on X, which is basically where our fearless leaders from the FBI and the DOJ spend all the time. Actually, a ton of people in the Trump administration get a lot of information out of X, which is absurd and silly. But some woman named Tory Brooke, who I've never heard of, but apparently shows her boobs on Instagram. And if you guys want to see pictures of her in sort of scanty outfits, knock yourself out. There she is over on Instagram. It's real Tory Brooke, I think. She decided to take a clip of the Kyle Seraphin show when I was talking to Steve Friend, and she was really upset about my assessment of Kash Patel's girlfriend. Just a regular girl who's 26 years old, who spent her whole life living over in Europe and in Switzerland, and then came back to Arkansas and suddenly became a country singer, and then got a job at PragerU, and then got picked up as a Turning Point ambassador, and then got picked up as another sort of thing, and then got a platinum hit that signed a deal or something with her independent record label, but it's being promoted by John Rich, and then she started dating the FBI director when they have an 18, 19-year difference between the two of them. They totally have a ton in common, I'm sure, because a lot of 45-year-old men who work in government are totally connected to country music girls who are 26 years old. And then she got a job for 2 months working for a Muslim Syrian congressman in Arizona. But then after 2 months, she decided that was over because Kash Patel got sworn in. So her mission totally didn't change. Look, I'm just looking at what is out there as far as public information on people like Alexis Wilkins. And if you want to go out there and run an op that, Kyle Seraphin's being mean to Kash Patel's girlfriend. I mean, is it not weird when you find out that the girlfriend of the FBI director was working as a press secretary for a congressman for a few days? And then it's gone. but she's also a country music singer, but she also had a podcast on Rumble where she did political commentary. Because I know all of you out there that have some life experience, what you're really hoping to find out is, what does a pretty girl who's 24 years old think about politics based on her vast experience of living in Switzerland for a few years and then like being in the country music scene? I read about what her influences were yesterday. I went down this rabbit hole of like, what are her influences? And her influences are, actually, I may even have it on my screen here. May not. Her influences are like nothing. She's just influenced by people that are out there in the world doing things that are genuine and honest. Anyway, here's totally not an op.
Alexis, I'll be honest, I had no idea you were a press secretary now. What's it like being a press secretary? Is that weird? Does it feel awesome or a little bit gross?
It's exciting to be part of an office that is trying to right the ship and promote an agenda that is actually, I think, aiming to help the American people. Our agenda is very consistent with the things that the American people voted for on November 5th, for, of course, President Trump's agenda, outing a lot of the things that the Biden administration tried to bring into our government, and, of course, saving money, respecting American people and the things that they want and their rights, and the
saving money, protecting the American people and the things that they want and their rights, and the President Trump agenda. Are any specifics are we gonna have any answers to this? He asked you, does it feel weird or gross to be a press secretary? And all she said was not that.
Constitution, a wild concept. It's nice to be able to be on a team that is committed to righting the ship. Of course, Congressman Abe is on the HASC committee. He's on Veteran Affairs. He's a veteran himself. And so he is committed to making sure that those stakeholders are respected as well. So let's, back the blue, respect our military, and get this thing sorted.
And America's great. And that's where I found my sense of patriotism, even though I have no experience. Yeah, totally. Got it. I got it. I'm tracking. Same kind of vibe as this gal who was caught on CBS the other day. I feel like these are like the same clip, same kind of energy, pretty, speaks, but off camera, I imagine it looks something like this.
I get to announce that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged. As you're talking to Joe Lang, our lovely producer, Gabby Ake, texted me and said, Taylor Swift's engaged, and you can see it right there on her social media. She put it up in that post that they got engaged with the caption, your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married, with a little dynamite sign there. So very exciting. Taylor Swift is engaged.
This is the stuff that was done off camera.
Taylor Swift is engaged. Taylor Swift is engaged. Come back to me.
Come back.
She just
I get
posted
to report
it.
this. I get to report this.
Oh my God. Oh, it's huge. The ring is ginormous. This is so exciting. Oh my God.
Oh my God, a 30-something-year-old woman is marrying a man.
Oh my God, it's on her Instagram. It's on her Instagram. It's on her Instagram. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I feel like Paul Revere right now.
She's Paul Revere. Okay, so that's exactly the same kind of energy. This is why we have leg humpers on the left and on the right, and they don't make any bit of sense, and they have nothing going on. By the way, here's the rest of my little nonsense that I was doing. Let me just pull this up too, because I was thinking about it. You guys may have seen this before. Like, why did people make this connection and think that there might be tasking, and that this woman who's Kash Patel's girlfriend is like diving into certain things? Why was she a congressman's press secretary for January and February, and then we never heard about it again? Oh, because maybe in February, Kash Patel was sworn as the FBI director, right? And you're like, well, what's the connection there? The connection is pretty women. Here's the deal. If you're like a 3 or a 4, and your girlfriend's like a 7, 8, or a 9, you either got a ton of money, which Kash has some money. He's certainly wealthy. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe you're part of the op. Maybe OMG or Project Veritas is trying to get information from you. Or maybe it's like, I don't know, somebody else trying to get information from you. Here's her boss over at PragerU. By the way, she has a show on PragerU, and she explains things to people on PragerU. So PragerU, which is Con Inc., Charlie Kirk and Turning Point, which is Con Inc., right? John Rich, who's buddies with Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Con Inc. Like, all of this stuff all lines up. It's like, we're just looking at, there's an awful lot of connections here, people, that we could look at pretty seriously and realize, why would anybody think anything crazy? And then they pulled this part of the bio off the CEO of PragerU's main page. I looked at it yesterday. It's missing. It used to actually highlight this Unit 8200 connection from the CEO of PragerU. Here she is talking in her own words about how important Israel is.
Israel is constantly under attack. It can't afford to make big mistakes, and it makes many mistakes, but none of them are ones that Israel can afford to do. And so intelligence is key. It's very important. I'm an American that was raised in Israel. When I was 7 years old, my family moved to Israel. When I was 16 years old, I got a little brown envelope in the mail. And it was basically, a summon for testing. Right. And so I still remember this so well. I walked into this massive room with lots of students and tiny little wooden pencils. And they just started testing us. And the room got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And eventually they figured out what the hell to do with me, I guess. After a few interviews on my 18th birthday, they recruited me. I got a bunch of shots and I joined the military. And so I served in a small unit called 8200, which was an intelligence. And, Israel is constantly under attack. It can't afford to make big mistakes, and it makes many mistakes, but none of them are ones that Israel can afford to do.
Taylor Swift is engaged. Taylor Swift is engaged. Taylor Swift is engaged.
I feel like we deserve better than that, don't we? All right, let me read some stuff from this story here. Just saying, when your boss actually worked for 8200, which is like the Israeli version of the NSA, and says that they care about Israel and intelligence, and I'm an American, but I do this, you don't have to be from Israel. You don't have to even be Jewish to be an asset for all kinds of intelligence agencies. Do you think that we only get Americans that are overseas to work on behalf of our American interests? No, you go find people that are co-aligned, that they either they're compromised or they're willing to work with you ideologically because they think it's right. There's all kinds of reasons: patriotism, money, access, power. There's all these little levers you can turn. Remember when I told you that the guys that are working at the FBI right now almost exclusively work in the national intelligence sphere, like they were national security professionals? And then they went and they just said, hey, we're going to go after Bongino in a sense of patriotism. We're going to squish him with just saying, if you don't do what we ask, then you're going to be the one responsible for the next 9/11. With Kash Patel, you're like, hey, bro, you want to fly around on a private jet? If you don't, then you're not going to be able to continue doing this. Here's how I know what happened. Let's just read a little bit of the story here. The FBI signed a settlement with Garrett O'Boyle and 6 other whistleblowers, Steve Friend and 6 others, so a total of 8. That will provide them with back pay, a lump sum damage, and restoration of their clearances, in some cases, reinstatement jobs in the Bureau. Okay, all of them were working with Empower Oversight. Now, Empower Oversight is an organization that exists almost solely to make Chuck Grassley look great. Now, ostensibly, their job is to go out there and help whistleblowers, right? But what you realize is that their entire thing is they basically suck up to Chuck Grassley to get access. They have placement because Jason Foster, who's the guy who's in charge of Empower Oversight, he used to work for Chuck Grassley, so he just goes to what he knows. That's what people in Washington, D.C. do. They go, what is my access point? How do I stay in the game? How do I keep collecting $200,000 a year, plus all my expenses paid? And that's what he does. It's like $190,000 plus is his salary, and it's publicly disclosed. Okay, so they go and do that, and we need a coin of the realm, and their coin is whistleblowers, and that's because Chuck Grassley touts himself as a hero to whistleblowers, even though he can barely type whistleblowers with his gnarled, knuckly fingers, because Chuck Grassley is 92,000 years old. So what you had in this negotiation, which you guys don't know because you weren't privy to, and it wasn't something we should really talk about previously, Chuck Grassley needs to be whistleblower winner. And you need people over at DOJ to get the win for PR because we've exposed that they are hiring and keeping on people that were doing all kinds of evil stuff. Like you had the guy that was running the Jack Smith case and working on behalf of the special prosecutor against Donald Trump, flying the plane of the FBI director. We showed you that Steve Jensen was the guy who was basically the architect of the domestic terror information coming out of the section chief role at DTOS, the domestic terror operations section. And they promoted him illogically. And then they had to go defend him because they didn't know what they were doing. Right? All of these things ended up showing you real simply that there is a game being played, and mostly it's for your cheers, your applause, the same way that we heard in Gladiator, win the crowd and you win, we win over everything. They're out there doing a PR move. Chuck Grassley needs a whistleblower win because he talked about it, and DOJ needs a win because they screwed up on the Epstein files and they were hiring people or keeping people in places that had no business being in there. And that's the game. And the coin of the realm that was tossed around were FBI whistleblowers, including my friends Garrett O'Boyle and Steve Friend, formerly of the American Radicals podcast, which is on hiatus as of yesterday. Why are we not going to hear from Steve and Garrett, guys? Oh, because they're now underneath the same scrutiny that every other FBI employee is. They can no longer speak freely. They're not allowed to. They work underneath the FBI's thing. They got reinstated. And the payments weren't nearly as much as you guys would think. I assure you, not one of them got a 7-figure settlement. Okay? Pretty straightforward stuff. Let's read a couple things. Chuck Grassley says, whistleblowers risk it all simply for the sake of simply telling the truth. I'm trying to do my Chuck Grassley read where he gets stuck up on words. These 10 whistleblowers' actions were met with intense bureaucratic blowback because they caused severe financial and emotional hardship. That's the senator, the senior, super senior senator from Iowa. He's the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, who, quote unquote, helped mediate between FBI and the whistleblowers. There was a little interplay. Again, Chuck Grassley delegated to his former staffer, Jason Foster. Jason Foster goes and argues on behalf of the whistleblowers. And then you got the other side of it. And that is the DOJ trying to argue on behalf of the FBI, saying we're not going to make any kinds of, special settlements there. And why were they having to fight against the FBI, which is our guys? Who are they fighting against? These two. There he is. There's Danny B. Dan Bongino of the Bongino Army, the former podcast host who told you all kinds of tough guy stuff. And there's Kash Patel, who said he was going to make it right. He was going to solve problems. All they ended up doing was continuing the previous administration's policy. And what was that? It looked like this. It continued on after Donald Trump got into office.
And how do you think that solves being able to shine light on corruption, weaponization, any kind of misconduct that exists with the American people?
It doesn't solve it. But the FBI will crush you. This government will crush you and your family if you try to expose the truth about things that they are doing that are wrong. And we are all examples of that.
I can't think of a more sobering way to end a hearing. I yield back.
Okay, why were they still being crushed up until yesterday? By the way, they haven't been paid yet, so this is just an agreement. It's been inked and signed, and now they can't talk anymore because they're under the FBI's social media policy. Why? Why, when this guy is currently the director?
What we are, Steve, is simply over the target. These brave warriors are exposing corruption at the FBI like never seen before, and they have exposed Chris Wray's lie, his biggest lie to Congress, that he swore that he would never retaliate against FBI whistleblowers. Well, then what do you say to the three gentlemen that just testified yesterday, whose lives you ruined, whose shelters you took from them, whose homes you deprived their children of, and you deprived them of basic food and water? Yes, the Cash Foundation stepped in because Chris Wray lied to Congress, and all he does is retaliate unlawfully. So I don't care what the left says, or Schiff Jr., as I call Silver Spoon Goldman. I have zero opinion of that man, because he's never worked a day in his life. And all he's now doing is picking up where Adam Schiff left off by dropping useless lies, and because they can't take on the truth. The FBI.
Here's the truth. The truth is that FBI director was the reason why these guys didn't get a settlement. That he immediately started listening to people out of the New York field office, started circulating slanderous things about me, about Steve Friend, about Garrett O'Boyle, and about others, saying that they were character issues, claiming that I shot at someone. Guys, do you know how crazy that is? I tell that to retired FBI agents, and they always laugh. And I'm like, you think there's any chance that I walked off the range after shooting at somebody, which is the thing that Kash Patel is out there telling people, Bongino is out there dropping into people's ears? Yeah, I've got all kinds of different little people that are feeding me back information from Washington, D.C. I may live in a suburb of Austin, Texas, but we're awfully connected, strangely, to the stuff that goes on in Washington, D.C. How crazy is that? Look at this picture right here. This is from Chuck Grassley's office. This was celebration of whistleblower appreciation, and you'll see some names in there or some faces that you recognize. There's Gary Shapley, IRS whistleblower. There's Joe Ziegler, IRS whistleblower. There's Marcus Allen, FBI whistleblower. Steve Friend, FBI whistleblower, Garrett O'Boyle, and we'll go with just Mike. Some of these faces are people I know that you don't. I've met in person and you haven't, and that's fine. And their stories are quiet. And the stuff they blew the whistle on was basically after they got jammed up for doing something they should have never been jammed up for. The problem has not been fixed. The process being the punishment is not fixed. None of this was actually corrected. And it was sworn in testimony as they walked in, amongst other lies, that it would be fixed. You want to know how I know that that those guys are the problem? I'm going to show you something on the screen right now. Right there is a map of the world, or at least a piece of the world. And what you see there is there's a spot in Maryland and a long arcing line because the world is not flat out to Scotland. And what is that map that you're showing there? Here it is. These are the past flights of November 708 Juliet Hotel, which is an FBI operated private Gulfstream 550 jet that is generally in use by the FBI director. There was a deal signed after this flight. On 24 August, that was on Sunday, late at the night and going into the morning in the United Kingdom, Kash Patel got on a jet and left the country. And when he was gone, the DOJ was finally able to operate after all of the stupid PR losses and the fact that Kash Patel went out there and prematurely mentioned his deal. They were finally able to go out there and ink the deal because he wasn't there to hold it up. He was the problem in the first place, which seems really problematic because he swore under oath that he would not be the problem.
Will you protect whistleblowers from retaliation, unlike former Director Wray, and promote a culture at the FBI that values whistleblowers' important contributions?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. I share in your beliefs about the importance of whistleblowers.
So we've spent a lot of taxpayers' money ruining whistleblowers. Will you commit to ensuring that no taxpayer money will be used to identify and retaliate against whistleblowers?
Senator, if I'm confirmed, it will not.
Will you protect whistleblowers from retaliation?
No, because the retaliation continued day one under Kash all the way up until yesterday, and until they're paid. They weren't like I said, none of these guys are rich men. They're all going to go back in and be GS-13 brick agents and have their mouths shut. And there was a huge negotiation on whether or not they could actually even like choose their assignment, or if they were going to just get picked randomly and made to pick up and move their families. Some of you guys are seeing the aircraft and wondering, what is going on there? If you want to go find it, it's a public plane. You can find it on FlightAware and places like that. It's November 708 Juliet Hotel. It's operated by the federal government. It is public information. It is listed by the FAA, and we get alerts every time he picks up and goes somewhere. I'm going to read you some things from the story that Kerry Pickett did. And again, we appreciate Kerry Pickett. We appreciate Miranda Devine. We appreciate Joe Hanneman, Steve Baker, people who haven't let this thing go. Mr. O'Boyle said that he's grateful to finally have, quote, a measure of resolution in my case. Does that sound like we have total victory and thanks so much and everything is dandy now? We finally feel like it's good? No. Here's what my friend Garrett said. Quote, this settlement closes a painful chapter for my family and I, but it doesn't erase the years of retaliation, reputational harm, and financial hardship that we endured simply because I told the truth, he said in a statement to the Washington Times. He thanked Mr. Grassley and his attorneys at Empower Oversight and the American Center for Law and Justice and the Banal Law Group. That's it. Does that sound like a man who just, he's vindicated? You know how I know? Because they reinstated him, which means that everything all of us have been saying since the beginning has been vindicated. But that's not a victory. There's no victory in saying that you have to go back there now. Do a little throwback. One of the things that Garrett and I both worked together on was showing that the FBI went after James O'Keefe and Project Veritas. Not because we loved James O'Keefe at the time, not because that mattered, but because you cannot go after a journalist and claim that they're not a journalist in court when in fact you know that they are involved in journalistic pursuits, because that's not the standard. There's no standard under the Constitution. It's simply known as press, which we broadly speaking talk about being media, but the press is anybody who publishes something. And you guys will find out in today's this coming up Sunday sit down that being part of the press means that you're persons who publish things, period, the end. And if you're out on Twitter and you're sharing information and it happens to be information that has like newsworthy value, like you're easily part of the press. If you're running stories that make it on mainstream media the way that I've been doing since I first went public, you're part of the press. That didn't stop the FBI from investigating me. It didn't stop the FBI from investigating Garrett. They served grand jury subpoenas to go and pull his emails, his wife's like Apple history. I'm sure they probably went after her iCloud information. I'm confident they went after mine. I just don't use it. So screw you guys. There's a reason why I bought a flamethrower the other day. For those of you that have been paying attention on the Locals channel, I bought a flamethrower so that the FBI would go and get their next batch of my emails and find out that there's a freaking receipt for a flamethrower in there so they can go put that in their briefing. This is far from over, folks. A measure of resolution is not, I feel great and thanks so much, and now I feel like I'm on top of the world, is it? This was the first thing. In this picture here, this is actually really weird to watch, and it kind of made me emotional before I got started here. This was the first time I sat down on Fox News with Dan Bongino. And what you guys don't know is I had about 104-degree fever because I was deathly ill with COVID, because the anxiety had run my body down so aggressively after we went public on that first interview. I felt like I was going to die. And I had a moment's reprieve during the time that I did the Fox News interview. This is one of those things where like my faith got much stronger over the time that that all of this stuff started happening to us. Because by all rights, I probably should have died of some illness because I was so beat down by what we were doing. We were facing down an incredibly disgusting beast of the federal government. And here's the wild thing. It didn't change when Donald Trump took over. Again, you can't do reform with the same people. You can't do reform, but keep the same guys in power. And the figureheads at the top of the FBI did nothing to change it. I just want you to go back. These are the things that we originally claimed. For all the criers, oh, Kyle Sturford's mean, he's not nice. You're right. I just threw the sword up at the governor or whatever the heck it was, like the guy from Gladiator. Because I don't feel good about any of this, and I don't feel good for my friends. It's a hollow victory. The FBI doesn't deserve to have Steve Friend and Garrett O'Boyle. And again, that number 10, it included 2 people that were reinstated about 4 weeks ago, and they've been going through the process to go back into work. It includes Marcus Allen, who was reinstated and then had to resign as part of his settlement in August of last year, a full year ago. That 10 is a very disingenuous number. Let's go back to the beginning of this. Again, I'm deathly ill, but I managed to pull out an okay interview. This is from Fox News in like early September or maybe late September or early October of 2022.
So, Kyle, you had some issues that brought you here as a whistleblower. What for you was the point where you had to pull chocks and say, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore?
Well, Dan, as we discussed, I spend a lot of time reading a lot of national media, and I read every side of it. I'm not an inherently political guy. I like to think that I'm just a regular guy from 20 years ago that was in the middle. And as the Overton window has moved, I'm just seeing more and more things. I had the advantage of coming across Steve Friend, who was recently reported in the New York Post. And I got to say, people like Carrie Pickett and Miranda Devine are just doing really, really good work on behalf of the American people. And the two of us had a conversation yesterday, which is just a kind of a blessing to have. And we both agreed that either one of us, and I think he said he was, someone that went in front of a school board and petitioned and said that he wanted to have a say in his child's education. And when you do things like that, if that's going to end you up on a government list or have an e-guardian lead or an assessment or a full investigation into you just because you happen to be someone who speaks out and has an opinion that's currently outside of the vogue, then that's not acceptable. And I'm not willing to participate in that. That violates the oath that I believe that I swore, and I've done it more than once. So I don't intend to be part of that, and I don't want to see other people doing it either.
Well, the feedback so far on our initial conversation has been amazing. The American people are really grateful. Kyle, I want to get to the January 6th thing, but before that, since we spoke on my show Thursday and Friday, now on Saturday, I told my audience, tune in on Saturday night, there's an update. Has there been blowback since you decided to speak out and blow the whistle on what's going on at the FBI?
It's funny because when you first asked me that, the answer was no. And 32 minutes after the podcast went live on Thursday, I got an email from FBI headquarters. And I had previously asked them if they were going to interview me over suspending my clearance or whether they were going to follow up on this administrative inquiry they have onto me. And very interesting, and I'll call it a coincidence, but they summoned me to D.C. for Thursday of next week, and they've asked me to participate in an interview and pay my own way, by the way, because I don't have a government travel card, and I don't have credentials to get back into a building and file a travel report and get reimbursed. So I'm talking to my attorneys as far as what we're going to do about that. But, yeah, I would say that's the first serious blowback.
Yeah. Well, you admit that's, well, gosh, I mean, please stay in contact with me. Again,
Yeah, I'd love to stay in contact with you. It's a nice thing to know that you're now at the FBI and, didn't do anything. Appreciate that. Thanks, Danny. Big time. He knew that there was blowback the first week that the podcast went live. He's been in office for months now, since March. Wouldn't you think, like, aren't there people out there in your life that you don't necessarily like as people? Maybe they go to your church and, you know, you don't like the way they park. Like, I always take the handicap spot and they take up too much of it or whatever. Or like, you don't like the thing that they do in your church group, or they, you know, they're always too talkative and they say, whatever. There's people that you don't like in the world, but you don't wish them ill. And you don't actively go out there to screw with them. Do you know the first thing that I saw this morning was Julie Kelly? You know, Democrat donor, 6-figure Democrat donor, liar about all kinds of wild stuff, like trying to get MAGA people killed by enraging them against the FBI and not being fair or balanced or accurate or anything else. She doesn't seem to know anything about the stuff she talks about. Julie Kelly, remember her? She sounds like this.
David French, oddly supporting that. So at any rate, so back to what we're talking about with the FBI. I think you and I might have just a slight disagreement here on what Cash and Dan are doing. Cool. I understand the frustration of the base. Of course, you know that, this FBI is the one that I covered who was using battering rams against veterans who, with no criminal record, you know, destroying their homes, their lives, their families over a nonviolent protest at the Capitol on January 6th. So, and of course, the Whitmer case, which we'll talk about as well. But I think the depth of corruption there, and this is what I'm hearing from my sources, is far worse than anyone imagined. The new folks at the DOJ and the FBI. And all you have to do is look at James Comey's recent comments.
Do you know that this morning, the first thing that Julie Kelly did was she got up on X and she mentioned that Garrett O'Boyle caused a woman to miscarry her baby and that Steve Friend was responsible for arresting people from the Whitmer FedMacking, even though he didn't run the case and he was just a guy that showed up as part of a SWAT team, which he's talked about. And the reason that you know as much as you know about it is partly because Steve has gone out there and exposed it. That the woman who miscarried, who seems like a really lovely person, she and Garrett pray together fairly regularly and that they've talked. Imagine using somebody else's miscarriage to be able to go and dunk on people that you don't like because you're a piece of shit. And by the way, when she says sources, she means the guy that you see in the picture there. It's Dan Bongino. It's only one person. The guy that's about to get kicked out of his job because Andrew Bailey's going to come and boot him out. Right after, I think he's going to see Kash Patel leave as well. Right? Well, one of the things that this lady said from her sources sounded like this.
I also don't care about the Epstein information. I don't care about those files. I think it's irrelevant. I don't care about those files. I think it's irrelevant. I think it's irrelevant. No one is going to be charged. Everyone got away with it. No one is going to be charged. Everyone got away with it. And I would much rather dig into January 6th. Much rather dig into.
Like that. You've got to no.
No, like Bannon can't even believe it, can he? Let's take a quick second break right here for the Spotify ad. So you guys will hear, if you're listening on the audio, if you're watching on Spotify, you'll catch a little ad right here. I like to give that little heads up for folks. It seems like the right thing to do. Same lady, by the way, who not only is she attacking my guys, who now can't talk, by the way. You know what's a real sign of courage? Blocking people like me who will tell people exactly what you are and then shitting on the reputation of good men like Steve and Garrett. And that's what she did first thing this morning. So much coping and so much seething going on. She's the lady that ran cover for this guy, who, by the way, I exposed enough times that they eventually had to fire him. You think they fired him because they were done with him? No, they fired him because Kyle Seraphin and the Kyle Seraphin Show, and all of you, our audience, you guys want to take, a little pat on the back right now? This is the time to do it. Because our loud voice that irritates and agitates, we're the mosquito at the barbecue. Are we big enough to make it bleed? I told Dan Bongino this one time. I felt like I was a small guy with a flippin' pocket knife cutting Godzilla. And we were drawing blood. And we drew blood when it came to showing that the FBI was going after Christians, specifically radical traditionalist Catholics. We showed it when they were going after parents at school board meetings using gender ideology. We showed it very recently when we showed that the FBI had managed to cover up the guy that was working the case for Jack Smith and was flying the FBI director around. And we're going to continue showing you that people from the previous administration and the political rot that exists in the SES core, they're still there. And the dummies that are sitting there in the office that think that they've got it under control are being handled, whether they like it or not. The evidence is overwhelming, and they know it too, which pisses them off. The one thing I do see, though, is that when I had clips from back in the day, and the back in the day, by the way, is like 3 years ago, I've aged a lot in the last couple of years. My wife and I were looking at pictures when we were in New Mexico with our brand new baby boy, who's now 4 years old, and we were like, good Lord, look at all those wrinkles. I've earned every damn one of them. Anyway, Julie Kelly was the #1 cheerleader on why we needed to keep this guy who, quote unquote, knew where the bodies were buried, put to the question on Maria Bartiromo. I'm going to play it again. Guys, enjoy it. Here's Fox.
But you promoted Stephen Jensen, the architect of the FBI's overzealous January 6th investigation.
I want the American public to realize what we did. That man was in a position where he literally fought back against the machine who was saying, we want to politicize this event. We want to politicize this event. And at the end of the day, remember, Maria, there's a chain of command here. So you can fight back your chain of command to a certain degree before they fire you. And Steve Jensen and other folks were promoted because they embody what the American public demands of FBI agents.
Is that right? They demand that you just follow orders and just do what you're told, even though you're the one who actually came up with the idea and stated it in congressional testimony? You're the one who decided on how it was going to work? Really? That's what Americans demand. Follow orders and do what you're told. That's probably what Kash Patel demands. There's a reason why I don't work there anymore. I was never eligible. I was never interested. I would never go back and work for these snakes. And I thought that the people that work there actually understood that because they said they did. What did we do over the last couple years other than turn over rock after rock after rock and expose things that people don't know about? Here's me shocking Dan Bongino on Fox News again, something he didn't realize because I gave him information in real time that he didn't have access to because he never worked in the FBI.
Listen, folks, you're not wasting your time with the show, I promise. I warned you months ago, actually July of 2021 in my podcast, about the FBI potentially abusing this spyware program known as Pegasus. FBI confirms it obtained NSO's Pegasus spyware. You know what Pegasus is? Yeah, Pegasus basically hijacks your phone, microphone, camera, everything. You want that in your room? Yeah, give a look about Pegasus. Scare the hell out of you. Gosh, I dropped a few LBs since then. I'm just seeing myself on camera. Now, listen, unfortunately, new alarms are going off about how close the FBI actually came to using Pegasus to spy on us, Americans. But could it still happen? Joining me now is a frequent guest of the show, someone who's witnessed the FBI's abuses firsthand, former FBI special agent, whistleblower as well, Kyle Seraphin. Kyle, thanks so much for your time. You're a real patriot when it comes to this stuff. We appreciate you speaking out. This scares me, Kyle. It's no-click spyware. All I've got to do is send you an email on your phone. You don't even got to click on it, and the FBI has everything. What's stopping them from abusing this at this point?
Well, we got to be pretty clear because NSO is an Israeli software, right? It's cyber warfare tools, and it's used to do that, like you said, the no-click exploitation of an iPhone. But it's really only geared for external, like non-U.S. phone numbers. And so that's what keeps them from using Pegasus specifically internally. That's what we're led to believe by the New York Times. But they created a second follow-up program that's called Phantom. And the only customer that's allowed are U.S. government entities, U.S. government agencies. And so Phantom is designed to only exploit U.S. phone numbers. And if they keep it internally, like that's a tool that could be used domestically with no problem. We're told they're not being used they're not using it at all. But what's to say that the FBI's operational technology division didn't, reverse engineer it and use some variant thereof? And it's definitely a real possibility.
That's what worries me, Kyle. We get into this, euphemisms game here. Oh, we're not using Pegasus. We're using Smegasus. And it's just a different thing. I mean, we can't trust them. And my principle I've always operated on here is it's not the program. These programs are going to exist. You know it, Kyle, these spy programs. Its rules of engagement have to be strict. And I'm just afraid they're too loose and it leaves it too much up to the discretion of the FBI. Your thought?
Cool. Yeah. Did you fix any of those things now that you're the deputy director and you can help write the policy, or do you not? And you're going to go out there and brag that we're going to have 800 new intelligence investigations into Americans because that's what you think is the right thing to do, because you never actually understood what the problem was. By the way, on that interview that you guys just saw, he had no idea what Phantom was. And he called me after the fact or texted me and was like, holy crap, you dropped that thing on me. I was sitting here looking at Pegasus. Pegasus was never geared for Americans. It doesn't go after U.S. phone numbers. And anybody who could read it would know that. But details matter when you're an investigative type. And Phantom is the thing that we're talking about. What Dan realized right there is that you can say all day long, no, we never use Pegasus because we don't exploit external phone numbers. That's somebody else. We use Phantom. And they would still be correct. This has been the tool of the FBI to lie by omission on a regular basis. This is why you can't keep the same people there. Hear me out. Reform. But we're going to keep the same guys. We're just going to do it the right way. They did exactly what FBI agents are supposed to do that you think they would do. You're telling me these people aren't captured, that they haven't been captured, that they don't do the thing that we all sort of go like, are you kidding me? The words from every FBI director are the same. I've played this for you guys a couple times. I'm going to remind you of it right now. Kash Patel is the problem. He's the reason why these guys had to wait over 6 months to be able to get results. Like, why wasn't he in right away? Kash Patel had our phone numbers and he immediately stopped calling us when he got sworn in. Maybe because he's exactly like every other FBI director. They love the plane. They like to hang out and have everybody fawn all over them, and they're useless.
So what are your colleagues saying about this, that you're going to get out of the Hoover building?
We need a new headquarters very, very badly.
New headquarters proposal that we have.
This FBI is leaving the Hoover building.
He just gave up a big nugget.
We want.
For about a decade now, the FBI has been working on plans to move various functions and headcount to out of the National Capital Region.
If our people are going to be safe,
Because this building is unsafe.
be effective, and if we're going to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money,
And being good stewards of the taxpayer dollars,
we got to get them all in a modern, safe, efficient FBI headquarters.
we're going to give you a building that's commensurate with that. And that's not this place.
And so there is a big sum asked for in our budget to support that.
We're always going to fight for our personnel and for as much money as we can get.
He just gave up a big nugget.
We want.
Yeah. You know what? Kash Patel actually just posted a video of himself doing push-ups and pull-ups in that Hoover building, which is apparently unsafe. You know what the claim is? The claim is that there's falling concrete. I talked to someone who's worked there for 14, 15 years, never heard of any falling concrete. Sends me haikus on a regular basis. And the haikus include like no falling concrete as a joke. People who work in the Hoover building regularly will tell me, oh, like apparently this unsafe building, even though we're here every day. By the way, they haven't moved out of the FBI's Hoover building, have they? In the same way that they were going to shut down the Hoover building and turn it into a freaking deep state museum, that's exactly what Kash Patel did with that announcement, because that was all BS. They got turned down. He didn't actually have the authorization to do the thing that they announced on Fox. That was also the same bullshit. It's PR. It's this. How do we get a photo op with all these whistleblowers and look good? And who benefits from that? My friend who's silent now? My other friend who can't speak and can't speak out and is going to get attacked by Julie Kelly, mouthpiece of Dan Bongino? Or maybe this guy, the other guy in the picture. Look, you got whistleblower, 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 that guy. Who's that guy? Oh, that's Tristan Levitt. He works for Empower Oversight. He's got kind of like a doughy, soft face, doesn't he? Yeah, he was moved into a position. He was elected in West Virginia to represent, I think, the 53rd district in November. So now he's in politics. He was previously at the Merit Service Protection Board, which sucks. Because I took a case to the Merit Service Protection Board and they did nothing. And it was obvious. Everybody just plays this game of, oh, well, whose jurisdiction is it? Like, who do we have to answer? I don't think we have jurisdiction. And then the OARM, which is the whistleblower court, goes, I don't think we have jurisdiction. And then it goes to the EEOC and they go, I don't think we have jurisdiction. So nobody has jurisdiction. It's nobody's fault when the government screws up and ruins the lives of good family men. Guess who benefits? Chuck Grassley gets a bump. People are going to go out there and get some fundraising done. Empower Oversight gets a bump. They're going to go out there and do some fundraising. Look how much we did. We got 10 whistleblowers restored. Never mind the fact that they had zero public awareness campaign, other than the fact that the American radicals, the two guys you see on the screen, and Kyle Seraphin are out there yelling about this from the top of the rooftops, and nobody can deny it. Why? Because we got 5 people fired 3 weeks ago, one of whom was collateral damage, 4 of whom were problematic in the FBI and should have been highlighted. We've been overwhelmingly showing you that the people that are running the show don't have it together. And I thought we had somebody in that office that was going to figure it out. And if it wasn't Kash, and by the way, you know, shame on me, because I believed Kash Patel. I really did. I needed an ally badly, and we had one. I thought. A guy who reaches out to you out of nowhere and says, I want to help you out. Man, that's something you need when you're in that situation where you're homeless and your wife is pregnant and you have no place to live and you're working a podcast that nobody watches out of a trailer on the empty lot next to your parents' house. That's a rough gig at 40-something years old with 3 kids and another one on the way. And a $10,000 check is an awful big deal until you realize that he was raising millions and paying other people hundreds of thousands of dollars to do work on his behalf. And those same people are out smearing me right now. They can stuff it because I still have this compilation of all the nice things that were said. And you can't make them go away because the internet's forever, Dan.
This is an agency that has betrayed you and that oath you took. And to this man or woman who stepped forward and disclosed this horrific information about the FBI targeting a legitimate conservative journalist, I applaud you. But another whistleblower has come forward. I applaud you as well, sir, ma'am, from the FBI, who came forward with this data. Folks, we are starting to see it. People are starting to take their constitutional oath seriously. Fox News, FBI whistleblower. The FBI targeted parents via terrorism tools, despite Merrick Garland, our attorney general's testimony that didn't happen. To the FBI agent, male or female, I don't know who you are, who spoke to Kerry. I know, I get it. You want to remain anonymous. I understand. It's not a knock. But your country's on the line here. I'd rather you be anonymous and not exist at all, and not do what you're doing. And I appreciate it. You have my respect and gratitude. But it'd be really powerful if you'd come out and speak. My podcast, my radio show, and my television show are available to you. I'm saying that in front of this entire audience so everybody understands. If you need a vehicle to speak, this microphone, and I'll show you this for my Fox Drew. It's my Fox microphone that goes on my lapel. Those are here for you, all of them. You have my word. We'll get you the protection of the microphone. Seeing your face sometimes on camera telling us about the administration's efforts to pressure you makes all the difference in the world.
So, Kyle, you had some issues that brought you here as a whistleblower. Joining me now to discuss is FBI whistleblower Kyle Seraphin. Kyle, thanks for spending some time with us again. Joining me now is FBI whistleblower Kyle Seraphin. Joining me now is a frequent guest of the show, former FBI special agent whistleblower as well, Kyle Seraphin.
Let's bring in Kyle Seraphin. He's the FBI whistleblower who helped expose government censorship of our First Amendment rights.
Right, we're lucky to have him with us today. He's Kyle Seraphin, a real whistleblower himself.
Now, we only have this memo because a recently suspended FBI agent called Kyle Seraphin brought it to the public, and we're grateful that he did. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Kyle Seraphin, he's a former FBI agent. He's the host of the Kyle Seraphin podcast, and he joins us on the phone. Hello, Kyle. Great to have you back with us, sir.
Let's turn it over to two former FBI special agents turned whistleblowers who are holding the Bureau accountable, Steve Friend and Kyle Seraphin.
A brave FBI whistleblower who is a friend of our show, also Dan Bongino's. Kyle Seraphin, he's the host of something that strangely is called The Kyle Seraphin Show. Follow him on Twitter. I'm Sebastian Gorka. I'll call you later. We'll talk guns, we'll talk optics.
All right, any update on your whistleblower situation?
No, I expect to be attacked for the foreseeable future.
Okay, at least you're realistic. Thanks so much, Kyle.
Kyle Seraphin, I can't thank you enough for speaking out. I knew you guys were out there, and I knew it was just a matter of time, but you got a lot of guts putting your face and your name to this. You're doing a service on behalf of the American people, and from the bottom of my cracked and broken heart sometimes, thank you very much.
You guys get it? That guy sounds the same as he did the first day. The first time I went on Fox, what'd you hear me saying? Steve Friend, remember him. Miranda Devine, appreciate you. Kerry Pickett. I didn't even know that I said those things in that first interview. In fact, I didn't even preview that clip before I brought it on. And that's how I led off today's show. Here we are, 640 episodes into this show that I never looked to have, but it's turned out to be an income stream for my family, and it allows me to hang out with my kids. That's the original intro, by the way, to the Kyle Seraphin Show, for those of you who remember it. Some of you do. It was like 3 minutes long. I called it the Bona Fides Reel. You can look and see all the people that brought on that wanted to hear it. Where are those people now? And where are their voices? They're going to go out there and celebrate a win. They're going to hump the legs of the guys that are in power right now. I haven't heard from Gorka in a while. I haven't heard from Bongino. I haven't heard from Tucker. I haven't heard from Jesse Waters. They won't bring me back on because I tell the truth. I'm just telling you right now. Like, I actually told them, I'm like, hey, I'm not really interested in doing your format. Your format doesn't allow for true things to be said. So thanks so much. But I'm going to stick with an audience that's smart, that knows how to be discerning, that has critical thinking skills. I don't need to go to an audience that wants to be spoon-fed and then be sold, gold IRAs and pocket catheters and reverse mortgages to lose their homes. So thanks so much. Appreciate it. And I'm not trying to be mean to those people. They're doing the best they can, but they all make millions of dollars a year. And here's the funny, crazy thing. The Trump administration could have hired Garrett and Steve immediately. They could have brought them on immediately. Any one of those agencies could have done the right thing and brought them on immediately. And so could Cash and Dan, but they didn't. And you used to think that they knew it.
Folks, the FBI is lost. It's broken, irredeemably corrupt at this point. The inexcusable raid on President Trump's home was the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean it when I say it. It's way past time to clean this FBI house up. They have burned every last shred of faith and trust freedom-loving Americans had in it. And to the libs out there, listen, don't even waste your time lecturing me on this issue. Not a second. I gaff you right off. I pay no attention to you losers, okay? No one's been a stauncher defender of FBI agents I work with than me. Go back and listen to my shows, you dipwads. I was the one defending them all the time.
Well, you got that part right. You do defend them all the time, so we got that going for us. So thanks, Dan. We really appreciate it. Dan defends people like this lady. I'm going to end with something that's kind of funny. This woman's name is Sarah Moore. We're going to end with one little piece of news. Cracker Barrel cracked faster than the FBI director who was supposedly on our team. I just want you to think about that for a second. The CEO of Cracker Barrel cracked and pulled back the nonsensical, like the horrible choice that they had. The investor-driven people finally got the right move, and they said, hey, we'd really like it if you actually started making money and not screwing with people on a brand that they really love. So there you go. The Cracker Barrel CEO dismissed the warnings from a top investor who called for the rebranding, said it was obvious folly. That turned out to be true. Hundreds of millions of dollars in losses in their market share. And then guess what? They've reverberated. They've gone back. I want to play you a little clip of that woman explaining how awesome she is. And I'm going to tell you right now, she looks almost identical and she sounds like, with the same sort of up-talk bullshit as Jen Moore, the same kind of people that run the FBI, that are running circles around Cash and Dan, are the same people that changed the Cracker Barrel logo because they know best, because they're just the people that are going to dictate it. We're listening to women that get excited about Taylor Swift. And idiots like this. If your senior executives look like this, you got a real problem. And I don't care if you're a corporation or if you're part of our federal government. They're all screwed up. None of these people should have a job in places that tell folks like how to make a living. Here she is.
Over the past year, we have been very transparent about our transformation platform. And one of our strategies is really centered on that physical guest experience. And we've spent the last year testing and concepting various levels of remodels. All of these various levels have been rooted in our brand DNA. They've been rooted in guest feedback, and it's all about evolution with intentionality. We've been very transparent about our goal of making our stores feel brighter and even more welcoming than they already are, while maintaining that country hospitality and charm that we're known for. So when it comes to the overall experience, what you can rely on is items like our rocking chairs, our biscuits, our peg games, antiquities on the wall. None of that is going away. We're just looking at ways to freshen up the experience so that we can open our door a bit wider for more guests.
And like whenever we say a thing out loud, we're going to just say it like it's a question because it's the end of our statement. Oh my God, we lost $200 million in our market cap. They went from like a $1.5 billion company to a $1.38 billion company because of that lady pushing that agenda where she just talks like this. Like nobody wants to go to a restaurant where that's what you have to deal with. Gross. I'm telling you, that's what your federal government is full of. You can't do reform with the same people. You can't have the exact same people involved and think that you're going to get a change. That's the whatever they call it. They used to call it Einstein's definition of insanity, although I don't think he ever said that. It's like this apocryphal definition of insanity. Doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Not me. You're going to see me like Inigo Montoya. I'm Kyle Seraphin. I'm coming for the FBI. I made that decision a long time ago. When my feet hit the floor every morning, you have to deal with me. And I'm going to keep exposing your stupidity. Yesterday, I'm going to share with you one last little thought. Yesterday, I got out of a 5-hour whistleblower interview with Bill Taylor. It was 5 hours just to cover the malfeasance that went on, just to cover the retribution and the retaliation that took place for his whistleblower disclosures. 5 hours of things that they did wrong. In my case, I've got 40 pages. 40. Of retaliations. We had 13 individual complaints of individualized, specific, and sequential retaliation for the things that I brought forward from our FBI. And it was everything from removing me from my job and moving me into a place where I had no work, to sending me out into the desert, potentially to get in some sort of hillbilly ambush, and then afterwards accusing me of felonies And it continued on under Dan Bongino and Kash Patel because these guys were out there spreading slanderous rumors from the previous administration, which had a lady who talked like this, who lied to Congress and said that Kyle Seraphin shot at a lady out on the... that kind of stuff. These two clowns got in there and got immediately snowed. So shame on them. We have mediation coming up. Do you guys realize the funny justice of this? We have a mediation for the COVID malfeasance that took place, the tyranny. And right now, the dumbest thing possible is happening. It's like a really funny confluence. We don't have justice in this world, but I do think the arc bends towards justice. I think MLK Jr. was correct. It's written in granite in our nation's capital. The arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Towards. But doesn't mean that it ever gets to justice. Me and 20-something FBI agents and employees are suing the FBI, and then that's being defended by the DOJ. By the way, it's being defended by the DOJ, which continues to defend the position of the FBI in this administration. After Pete Hegseth said that the order to go out there and require everyone to get a vaccine was unlawful. After the FBI director fired the guy that I highlighted, Spencer Evans, for the things that he did, citing his tyranny and his overreach on COVID enforcement. So now the FBI has put the DOJ in a position where they have to defend a lawsuit from me and others. And I'm the main face of it. There's 3 different buckets. We have 3 claims. I'm the only person that represents all 3 claims. I lost my job. I was discriminated against religiously, and we were denied religious accommodation in violation of Title VII. The FBI has to be defended by DOJ for the claims that I have made, which the FBI used to fire the guy that I claimed did the things that what happened. I claimed COVID tyranny happened. The FBI fired the guy that I claimed did COVID tyranny, and the reason for his firing was COVID tyranny. Here's the funny part. If they don't settle with us on Friday, and I have zero expectation they're going to do the right thing and do that, then we are going to pursue the motion. It's already under the judge's nose to certify all of us as a class. And we're going to go from 26 people in a lawsuit to 2,600 to 3,000 people who said no to the COVID vaccine. The FBI is going to go from a lawsuit that has 26 people to 3,000, 100 times bigger. And the number of people that were violated when it comes to their civil liberties and their religious accommodation, it will go from being 6 to like 3 to 600 immediately. And the number of people who lost their jobs over this will go from 3 to probably 30 or 40. They'll probably get a 10x multiplier, if not more. If they certify us as a class, not only will we get discovery for what we asked for, which, by the way, the DOJ has defended it and not given us anything. Today's FBI is giving zero information to the people that were discriminated against for COVID, despite firing the guy who discriminated against for COVID. Does that make any sense? Do you think that we're back, baby? This is why I wake up pissed every single morning. But I'm not pissed at you. I'm really grateful for you guys. And again, the thinking people that watch this and the people that make this thing pipe back in to FBI headquarters so that their heads explode every morning when we give them the things that they don't want to hear. The fact that we can reveal that the FBI director had to leave the country so DOJ could scurry around and get this deal done, and he's going to go out there and try to take credit for doing it. They've already blocked our discovery, folks. They already refused to give us anything. They said we don't know how to be responsive to anything you asked for. And all we asked for, what were the communications between the executives and what were the decision-making processes in email and in link messages? Those are your instant messages. What was that looking like? And text messages between senior executives and the field offices that ended up discriminating against us. We just want all the information on communications, and we want our personnel files and what was written in them. We don't know what that is, says DOJ on behalf of FBI. You think they haven't read it? You think they don't know? Oh, they know. They know exactly what they said. What do you think they called all the people that were unvaccinated inside federal service? What do you guys think? Because I know that deplorables is probably played out. Filthy unvaccinated? Disgusting religious nuts? What do you think it was? There was a word. I can almost assure you that there became a word, and it was a terminology that floated around senior management in the FBI, and it probably went everywhere else in the government too. So our lawsuit comes up for mediation on Friday. If they were serious and we were winning, then there wouldn't be mediation. They would just send a settlement, and they would say, we want to pay enough money so that when your feet hit the floor in the morning, you're not pissed off at us as a government. Can we buy your silence? They bought Stephen Garrett's because those men were in a lot more desperate situation. I'm not in a desperate situation because of you. I will be very, very clear about that. Because you listen to what we have to say here, because you, the audience, has made this thing a reality. It's gone from a joke where we used to talk about KSS and TKSS, and Phil Kennedy and I were back and joking about maybe we'll get some listeners. There's tens of thousands of people that listen to this every single week. I was trying to do an estimate. It's like somewhere between 50 and 100,000 people listen every single week to this podcast. which is not a ton of people in America, but it's some of the smarter people in America. And you're certainly more informed because you don't have to listen to leg humpers because we don't owe anybody anything. Everything around here, we paid for. You guys helped pay for it with your ad dollars, with your attention span, with watching, with sharing it with your friends. Every single thing here is paid off. I owe nothing to anybody. And I certainly don't owe loyalty to people who said that they were going to go out there and push our mission forward. And here's my microphone from Fox, and here's my podcast microphone, and then turned around and stabbed me in the back for Julie, I don't care about the Epstein files, Kelly. So that's where we're at. We're clearly suppressed on Rumble. They undercount the hell out of what we have. There's a real possibility that we have something like 10x the number of viewers that Rumble shows. And I've had people tell me from the back end of it that that's what's actually going on. That's fine. That's all good. We're going to keep doing what we do here because you guys are out there. And the fact of the matter is our advertising works to the advertisers because you guys listen to it. It doesn't matter whether or not we can report the numbers because the numbers are realistic because the advertising performs. And it performs because we only pick on companies that I'm actually going to go use. I actually have all the products and I actually go buy them. You can't have me sell methylene blue and you can't give me supplements or boner pills. I'm not going to do that. That's not what I do here. And I never have. And I won't sell you a gold IRA because I think that I'm going to take your money and be fine with it. No, this has to be a mutually beneficial transaction. You get information. You get to decide whether you agree with it. I present an argument. You walk away and agree or don't agree. At the end of the day, I'm still going to respect you for not agreeing with me. Go out there and look at the comments. A third of our audience says, I don't agree with you on this. It's like, great, outstanding. You should present a counter argument. I'm really appreciative for you guys, and I despise our government even more this morning. All right? More than ever, I'm disgusted because these guys proved by signing a deal with FBI whistleblowers all at once for a PR victory that they could have done it day one. The authority and the power existed right away. It was never negotiable. That power sat with these two men, and they chose not to exercise it, period. And the fact that it came out is because we crapped on them so aggressively that they went and fired 4 people without even following FBI process. And a 5th one got caught in the crosshairs in Brian Driscoll. And all of that came because guys like Alex Jones are willing to say my story. I'd rather talk to Alex Jones 10 times out of 10 than Fox News, regardless of what he sells. Because Alex Jones is like always trying to do what's true, even when he's kind of nutty. And I think he would be okay with that too. He doesn't agree with me every time. I don't agree with him every time. But the man continues to be someone who turns it up to 11. And if he's wrong, it's not on purpose. And that's pretty rare. When these guys have been wrong, particularly in this particular role, they're gaslighting you and they're lying to you. And I'm disgusted by it. So that's where we're at today. Also, Taylor Swift got engaged. So for those of you that celebrate, things to celebrate. I'm going to play you something that's fun because we need a win. We need something to be really happy about. I'll tell you what I am happy about. I'm actually going to be really serious about this too. I'm actually seriously excited that Taylor Swift and whatever that guy, Kelsey, are getting married. I'm excited about that. You know why? Because when people get married and they have babies in the world, they become new people. They become people who care about babies in the world. And maybe they'll stay leftists or maybe they won't. I think nothing can radicalize you more than looking your kids in the eye and realizing that they're going to one day ask you why you did what you did. It's the reason why I'm sitting here. It's the reason why I'm the man that I am today, because I wasn't this man 20 years ago. I can assure you that 100%. My wife and I both know that. So I'm actually okay with people getting excited about marriage. Isn't that a nice turnaround that people get excited about marriage and proposals and people like hitching their lives together? I hope they stick together. I hope they have babies. I hope it radicalizes the hell out of them. I hope they take them to church. That's my hope. So if CBS wants to celebrate that or Fox News or anybody else does, I hope they do. That would be great. And so I'm going to remind you, the easiest, the cheapest, the freest way that you can support us is subscribing to our channel. Appreciate all of you on YouTube because you guys have punched us over 12,000. Let's keep doing it. Rumble, we're working on 30,000 over there. X, you guys, whatever it is, 100, 200,000 something, 225,000. Check us out, subscribe, notify yourself when we go live. You can watch it anywhere. Locals, if you want to support us financially to keep it going, this keeps us independent. It's KyleSerafin.com, real easy. I don't need your money if you don't want it. If you can't afford it, don't pay it. You're never going to hear me ask for it. This is what we're working with. This is the entire show, folks. For those of you that have never tuned in, check in on here at the end of it. This is where we're at. This is how the show gets run. I'm really grateful for all of you. Let's do something positive and fun. Again, make sure you're sharing. KyleSerafinShow.com if you guys have never used it. Spotify, actually, I'm a big fan of their app, and they host us for free, so I'm kind of grateful for that too. Let's do something fun and positive and good and redeeming. This is a long kind of palate cleanse, but let's have it. And by the way, women, if you get yourself in one of these situations, realize the amount of effort that men put in. I proposed to my wife by making her climb up on a rock wall and stashing her engagement ring up at the top. And I told her to get her ass up there when she decided to turn around and come back down. I think great, fun, like real, true to your own life story engagement stories are the best. And here is one that you guys are going to catch. Stick around for the twist. Here we go.
I'm sorry, I keep staring at you. Do I know you?
Yes. We went to your Austin 3 years ago.
He thinks he could do better.
How long have you been together?
6 years! Holy shit! I don't see a ring. No ring. What a fucking idiot, right? Oh my fucking goodness! Are you fucking kidding me? This is unbelievable. You still haven't proposed? That was 3 years ago, so we're 9 years in now. And this is funny to you? What in the fuck reason could you possibly have? You know what? I clearly did not shame him enough by yelling at him. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna have him come on stage, and I wanna give him the opportunity to tell you guys why he hasn't proposed. If his reason sucks, y'all boo the fuck out of this man. Boo the fuck out of this man. Yeah, no, you got no choice. Come up. Actually, hold on, wait. So a lot of times I'll say a woman in the front row is beautiful. Sometimes I'd be lying. This is actually a very beautiful girl, but you can't see the front. Would you mind also coming on this stage? Come, all right, beautiful. Okay, give me your name, dumbass. Phil, all right. Phil, fucking idiot Phil. Okay, and then what's your name, miss? Melissa. Okay, Melissa's a beautiful girl. You see this, right? So, Phil, you tell Melissa and this audience the one possible fucking reason you could have to not propose. Okay? And if it's not good, they're gonna boo in support of you. Okay? Go. Whoa. Now, hold on. I want you to listen to his reason, and if it sucks, then you boo. Fair? We gotta hear him out, and that way he knows he's a retard. Okay, go ahead.
All right, yeah, give me 30 seconds. It's really not something I need to explain to you guys. I need to explain it to Melissa. And, you know, I loved you since the day I met you. It took me 9 years to become the man you deserve. And I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Before you marry me. Surprise.
That's what a win looks like. Maybe it takes you a while to get to where you need to be. Hey, I'll celebrate real wins. That's a real win. Stick around. Well, guys, it's going to be an interesting week. I guess we're going to lose the Friendly Friday. Maybe I'll talk Marcus Allen into being on my Friendly Friday. You guys go tag him. It's at Pray with Marcus. Maybe Marcus would be a good voice because he's a year after his settlement, and it might be good to kind of get a catch up on that. So thanks so much for being part of the program. Thank you guys for letting me do what I do here in the morning and being the reason that we can do it. And God bless you. And keep praying for my boys out there because they are now going into a jungle that is just full of snakes.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram at Kyle Seraphin.